My beloved child, something about your soulmate has been changing quietly, and the part you are about to hear may completely change the way you understand this connection. You may have been wondering why this person has not simply walked forward, spoken clearly, or made everything obvious by now. But what if the delay was never the end of the story? What if, behind the silence, your soulmate has been thinking about something much bigger than a temporary connection? There is a reason this relationship keeps feeling different from the ordinary connections you have experienced before. Your soulmate is not only thinking about the next conversation, the next meeting, or the next romantic moment. Somewhere in their mind, they have started asking a much deeper question: could this actually last? And that question changes everything. Because when someone begins imagining you in their future instead of merely remembering you from their past, their behavior starts to shift. They become more careful. They observe more. They think before they speak. They may even pull back for a moment because the seriousness of their feelings has surprised them. And this is where the story becomes fascinating. Your soulmate may have imagined what it would feel like to wake up knowing you are still there years from now. They may have pictured ordinary days with you, quiet conversations, shared routines, unexpected laughter, and those little moments that nobody else would understand. The shocking part is that they are not only attracted to the idea of being with you. They are beginning to recognize the possibility of building something that could actually endure. There is one detail about your soulmate's thinking that you need to understand, because it explains why this connection may not have moved as quickly as you expected. Your soulmate has been measuring the difference between temporary excitement and genuine compatibility. They have been asking themselves whether the connection can survive ordinary life, not just emotional moments. Can you understand each other when the mood changes? Can you communicate when something feels difficult? Can you still choose each other when life becomes busy? Can two different personalities create one peaceful direction without either person losing themselves? These questions may sound simple, but they reveal something enormous. Your soulmate is not looking at you as someone who simply makes their heart race. They are beginning to look at you as someone who could become part of their everyday world. And perhaps the most surprising revelation is this: they may already know that you have qualities they cannot easily replace. It is not only your appearance, your voice, your presence, or the way you make them feel. It is something deeper, the feeling that they can be understood around you without constantly performing. That kind of connection can become unforgettable. Maybe that is why they have tried to distract themselves, continue with their normal routine, or convince themselves that they should simply move forward. Yet somehow, the thought of you keeps returning. Not always loudly. Sometimes it arrives during an ordinary moment, a song, a familiar place, a quiet evening, or a random memory. And suddenly they are thinking about what could have happened, what could still happen, and whether the story between you is truly finished. That is when a temporary feeling can begin transforming into a long-term realization. But here is where your soulmate's heart may be revealing something even more important. They are beginning to understand that a long-term relationship is not built from perfect moments, it is built from choosing each other repeatedly. And that realization may be exactly what has made them look at you differently. They may have once imagined love as something dramatic, effortless, and constantly exciting. Now they are beginning to understand that the rarest kind of love can also feel steady, safe, honest, and real. Your soulmate may be thinking about the kind of relationship where both people can grow without competing, where silence does not automatically mean distance, where one difficult day does not erase everything good that came before it. And perhaps you have unknowingly shown them something they did not expect to find, emotional depth without needing to demand attention. That can stay with a person. They may remember how you handled situations, how you treated them when you had nothing to gain, or how your presence somehow felt different from people who were only interested in being noticed. This is why the next stage of this connection may not look like a dramatic movie scene. It could begin with something much smaller, a message, a conversation, an unexpected admission, or a moment when your soulmate finally stops hiding behind uncertainty. And when that happens, listen carefully to what they actually say, because the most powerful part may not be the romantic words. It may be the future-oriented language hidden inside them. Words like, we, someday, together, when we, or even, I've been thinking. Those tiny phrases can reveal that their mind has already started moving from possibility toward permanence. And now, there is one final piece of this first revelation that you should hold on to, because it may explain why your soulmate has been unable to completely close the door on this connection. They are not simply trying to figure out whether they miss you. They are trying to figure out whether losing the possibility of you would become one of their greatest regrets. That is a completely different question. Missing someone can happen because of familiarity. But wondering what life would have looked like with that person, that can reach much deeper. Your soulmate may be standing at that exact emotional crossroads right now, realizing that some connections disappear naturally while others continue asking for an answer. And your connection may belong to the second kind. This does not mean everything is already decided, because real relationships are created by two people through honest choices, communication, patience, and consistent effort. But it does mean something significant. Your soulmate may finally be looking beyond the moment and asking whether there is a future worth building with you. The next revelation is even more personal, because there is a specific quality they may have noticed in you that makes the idea of a long-term relationship feel different from anything they imagined before. And once you understand what that quality is, you may finally understand why your soulmate keeps coming back to the thought of you, even when they try not to. There is a moment your soulmate may have experienced that they have never fully explained to anyone, and it happened when they suddenly imagined you no longer being part of their future. At first, they may have thought the idea would bring relief, clarity, or closure. Instead, something inside them felt strangely incomplete. They realized that removing you from the picture did not make their future look better, it made it look different. Quieter. Less meaningful. And that realization may have caught them completely off guard. Because there is a huge difference between wanting someone because you are lonely and wanting someone because your life genuinely feels more complete when they are present. Your soulmate may be slowly discovering that difference. They may have started thinking about the kind of partner they would want beside them through ordinary mornings, difficult decisions, personal growth, celebrations, and the countless small moments that make up a real life. And somehow, when they picture that person, your presence keeps appearing in the scene. Not because they are forcing it. Not because they are trying to create a fantasy. It simply keeps happening. That is why this connection may feel unfinished even after periods of distance or uncertainty. Your soulmate is not only remembering what happened between you, they are imagining what could happen next. And there is something even more surprising. they may be realizing that the strongest part of your connection was never the intensity. It was the sense that you could actually understand each other beyond appearances. That kind of recognition can make someone rethink every assumption they once had about love. Then something changed in the way your soulmate began looking at the future. Instead of asking, "Will this person still be around?" they may have started asking, "What would I need to do if I wanted this person to stay?" That question carries weight. It means they are beginning to understand that long-term love cannot simply be expected, it has to be built. They may be thinking about becoming more consistent, more open, more intentional, and more willing to communicate what they previously kept hidden. Perhaps they have noticed that certain habits would have to change before they could create the kind of relationship they secretly desire with you. Maybe they have realized that avoiding difficult conversations does not create peace, it only postpones them. Maybe they have learned that affection without consistency leaves questions unanswered. And maybe they have finally understood that saying, "I care about you," means very little unless their actions begin supporting those words. This is where your soulmate's internal transformation becomes important. They may not suddenly arrive with every answer. They may still have hesitation. They may still wonder whether you would accept the version of them that is trying to become more mature and emotionally available. But the direction of their thinking is changing. And when someone begins preparing themselves for a relationship instead of simply craving the feeling of one, that is when the possibility of something lasting becomes much more real. Your soulmate may be realizing that you are not someone they want to impress for a moment. You are someone they would need to show up for repeatedly. There is another hidden layer to this story, and it may be the one that touches you the deepest. Your soulmate may have been comparing the emotional experience they have with you to the experiences they have had elsewhere, and the comparison has made something painfully obvious. Some people can create excitement, but very few create peace. Some people can capture attention, but very few make someone feel genuinely seen. Some connections are unforgettable because they were intense, others are unforgettable because they felt strangely natural. Your soulmate may be discovering that your connection belongs somewhere in that second category. That does not mean everything has been perfect. In fact, imperfections may be part of why this realization has become stronger. They have had opportunities to walk away mentally, emotionally, or practically, yet something about you continues to matter. Perhaps it is the way you listen. Perhaps it is your resilience. Perhaps it is the way you can make them feel understood without needing 1,000 explanations. Whatever the quality is, they have noticed it. And now they are beginning to understand that long-term relationships are not necessarily about finding someone who creates constant excitement. They are about finding someone with whom reality itself feels worth sharing. That is the thought that may be quietly moving through your soulmate's mind right now. They may be imagining years rather than weeks, partnership rather than pursuit, and stability rather than uncertainty. And if you have ever wondered whether your soulmate sees you as someone temporary, pay close attention to what happens next, because the next stage may reveal whether their thoughts are finally becoming actions. Because the biggest revelation has not arrived yet. Your soulmate may be approaching a point where they can no longer comfortably keep their feelings in the category of maybe someday. Something may force them to become honest with themselves. It could be a conversation, a memory, seeing you again, hearing something that reminds them of you, or simply reaching a quiet moment where they realize time keeps moving while their feelings remain unresolved. And in that moment, one question may become impossible to ignore. If I truly believe this person could be part of my long-term future, why am I still acting like they are temporary? That question can change everything. It can turn hesitation into intention. It can turn private thoughts into real communication. And it can make your soulmate realize that a lasting relationship does not begin when two people have everything figured out. It begins when both people become willing to be honest about what they genuinely want. Your soulmate may be getting closer to that realization than you think. But there is one specific fear they may still be wrestling with, and it has nothing to do with whether they care about you. It has to do with whether they are ready to risk being completely honest about how seriously they see you. And once that hidden hesitation finally breaks, the words they choose may reveal far more about your future together than you ever expected. There is a quiet realization growing inside your soulmate, and once it fully settles in, they may never look at this connection the same way again. They are beginning to understand that wanting a long-term relationship with someone is not about finding a person who makes every day perfect. It is about finding someone whose presence still feels valuable when the excitement becomes ordinary. And this is where you may have surprised them. Your soulmate may have discovered that even when there is nothing dramatic happening, the thought of you still carries weight. They can be busy, surrounded by people, focused on responsibilities, and completely occupied with life, yet something can suddenly bring you back into their mind. A familiar expression. A place. A small detail from a conversation. And instead of simply remembering you, they begin imagining what it would feel like if those little moments became part of everyday life with you. That is a much deeper realization than simple attraction. It means their mind is beginning to place you inside the ordinary future they once imagined without you. And perhaps the most unexpected part is that they are starting to understand what they would have to protect if they truly wanted you beside them long term. Your trust. Your emotional peace. Your individuality. Your ability to feel respected and heard. They may finally be realizing that love is not proven by how intensely someone wants you in one moment, it is proven by how consistently they treat you when nobody is watching. This realization may be pushing your soulmate to reconsider old patterns, old assumptions, and even old decisions they once believed were final. But something else has been happening behind the scenes of their thoughts. Your soulmate may be asking themselves whether they have ever truly given this connection a fair chance. That question can be uncomfortable because it forces a person to look beyond excuses. Maybe timing was complicated. Maybe communication was incomplete. Maybe both of you misunderstood something important. Maybe one person waited while the other hesitated. Maybe feelings existed but neither person knew how to express them properly. Yet now your soulmate may be looking backward with a different level of maturity. They may be recognizing moments they previously dismissed as insignificant. They may remember something you said that made no sense to them at the time but suddenly feels meaningful now. They may remember how you reacted during a difficult moment and realize that your response revealed more about your character than any romantic declaration could have. And that is where their perspective begins shifting from chemistry toward compatibility. They are not only asking, "Do I feel something?" They are asking, "Could we actually build something?" Those are completely different questions. The first can be answered in a moment. The second requires honesty. It requires patience. It requires two people willing to grow. And your soulmate may be realizing that the connection between you has qualities that deserve a serious look rather than another temporary judgment. They may not have every answer yet, but the question itself is significant. Because once someone starts seriously considering a future with you, they begin noticing details they never noticed before. They begin seeing not only who you are today, but who you could become together. And here is the part your soulmate may find hardest to admit: they may be afraid that if they wait too long, the version of your future that includes both of you could disappear. Not because some magical deadline is approaching, but because people make choices, grow, change direction, and build new lives. Your soulmate knows that. They may realize that you are not going to remain emotionally frozen in one place forever. You have your own dreams, your own path, and your own future to build. That awareness can create a completely different kind of urgency, not panic, but clarity. They may be thinking, if I genuinely value this person, I cannot keep assuming they will always be available whenever I finally become ready. And that thought can be powerful. It can make someone stop taking a connection for granted. It can make them examine whether their actions have matched their feelings. It can make them realize that a long-term relationship cannot be built from endless waiting. Someone eventually has to become honest. Someone eventually has to communicate. Someone eventually has to say what they actually want. Your soulmate may be approaching that point. They may be rehearsing conversations in their head, imagining how you might respond, wondering whether they should explain everything they have been feeling, and trying to find the courage to be more direct than they have ever been before. The strange thing is that they may not be afraid of loving you. They may be more afraid of discovering that they waited too long to tell you how seriously they were beginning to take you. And now we reach the revelation that could change the entire emotional direction of this story. Your soulmate may not simply be imagining a relationship with you anymore, they may be imagining what kind of life they would want that relationship to become. That means their thoughts could be moving beyond romance and into partnership. They may be imagining how you would support each other through changes, how decisions would be made together, how disagreements could be handled with maturity, how both people could maintain their independence while still creating a shared world. And somewhere inside all those thoughts, they may be recognizing one thing they cannot easily explain: the future feels more believable when they imagine you in it. That does not guarantee what another person will choose, and real love always requires mutual effort and free choice. But emotionally, this realization can be enormous. Your soulmate may finally be moving away from the question, could this work, and toward the question, what would it take to make this work? And that shift is where everything becomes more serious. Because the next thing your soulmate may have to confront is not whether they want something lasting, it is the one personal truth they have been avoiding about why they have struggled to move closer to you. Once that truth comes to the surface, the meaning behind their silence, hesitation, and mixed signals may suddenly become much easier to understand.